Yeah, it is.
John, I've lost you. Also, can you still hear John?
No, I
Or is
can't.
it
I
just
don't think he's. I lost him as well.
okay?
Can you
Also,
hear me?
John, do you want to start? Yes, I can. We lost
All
you for a
right.
bit.
Yeah, yeah. I switched internet, so I'm still waiting for like 8:05. Then we start. Giving me more time for people to come in. Right. So
Makes
8:05.
sense.
Uh, so we have just 1 minute left, and you just get started. What are we? So like this is the part people play music.
Do you have music to play? What kind of songs do you like to play?
Well,
But I already know your taste in music. It's like Kanye,
is
Kendrick. Even though you don't actually listen to the lyrics, you're just listening to the vibes. Ouch.
I said on the stuff is that like I'm not listening to the vibes. It depends on my mood. Can't be crying. I'm listening to music. But
Yeah, makes sense.
right now, it's just Afro beats and trenches music. So,
What's Trench's music?
uh, what are we is not trenches music, please. DJ YK, Mule, that kind of stuff. It's crazy.
Did your proper Raz?
I need to be Raz. Anyways, let me not distract everyone. So, like, it's 8:05, right? So, I'll get started. So, I would introduce Roland, introduce the entire thing, then I'll pass it to Roland to continue from there. So, yeah, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining this session. Right, so this session is going to be about motion designer from a director's perspective, right? And my very good friends going to be taking us through that journey, right? Rowland Olamide, right? Some people call him Rog, some people call him the goat. Anyways, but I'll call him Roland. So my name is John. I'll be your host for today, John. Right? And yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Um, okay, let me just start with my slide because that's where I have this place where I introduce myself in my slide. Hold on. And it's like, before we start, please can we say a prayer for my internet? Because the internet in this annoying country, or MTN specifically, has been like unreliable for the last few months. I tried to stream a few weeks ago. No, a few months ago, it was like April, and it failed me. And for this, I'm just praying to God, God, please let this work. Thank you. Amen. And yeah, let me go to the next slide. I am Olamide Rowland, and people call me Rog the Goat. I'm a motion designer, YouTuber, artist, creative director, and newly a cult leader. I've somebody called Bachi Cult, so I'm rolling with it. I'm now a cult leader. Yes. Awkward pause. Okay, next slide. In this in this talk, I'm going to be talking about looking at design and motion through the lens of a director. I don't want this talk to just be focused on motion design. It would be nice for it to be focused on motion design, but like this thing kind of applies to almost everyone, essentially. So let's go to the next slide again. So what is a creative director? A creative director is a person that makes high-level creative decisions, and those decisions apply in the making of creative assets. So you're basically like the person who, sorry, there's a notification. Let me just close WhatsApp.
Roland, while you closed WhatsApp, oh, it's not here again. He closed the entire thing. Uh, let me message him.
Sorry, just when I said like say a prayer for my internet, that's exactly when it just happened. I'm sorry. Let me continue from where I stopped. I was trying to explain what a creative director does, and a notification came up and I accidentally closed the tab. Okay, so I was trying to explain that the creative director is basically the main decision maker in a project. And why I started thinking about like creative direction and being a creative director is because recently this year I became a creative director at a startup called Brass. Though I didn't really get to fully immerse myself in the role, but it kind of like led me on this journey where I'm started like trying to understand what this is all about. And you're basically the main thinker in the project. You're basically like, I'm going to say this in like a slide, in like a few slides after, but it's like you are like Christopher Nolan, like you're like the director of Christopher Nolan, but in a project, in a motion design project. Thinking about my work this way has just changed everything for me. And to continue, I would like to first look at my work before I started like thinking about my work, thinking about myself as a creative director. So let's look at the trash I made. So look at my crap. This is going to be slightly like interactive. So I would love for you guys to kind of like unmute yourself, be comfortable enough to unmute yourself and speak to me and like share your thoughts, essentially. Yeah. So this is my project. I worked on this project last year, Alpha, and this project took 6 months to make. I'm going to play it for you guys, and I'm hoping you guys could like let me know what you think when you watch this, and then we can kind of like dissect it together. Hold on. Yeah, this is. Please let me know if you can hear any sound or if it's playing, or if you can see it playing.
It's not
Can you
playing
see
right.
playing?
No, it's not.
Shit. MTN is really disappointing me. Give me a sec. Let me refresh the tab.
Okay.
Oh shit, it was playing just a sec when I clicked on refresh. Yeah, let's try this again. Maybe I'll just wait a sec and let it play like it was doing before. And then I would love to hear your thoughts. Bro, this is annoying. Like, this is annoying. I don't know why it's taking time to load and play.
So maybe you could give some commentary about the project while we wait for it to load, right?
Yeah, I think that would be good. Let me see if I can actually find the video on my computer. And if this doesn't play, I'll just play it straight from my computer. But this project took me, like I said, it took me 6 months to make. I started making it like around this time last year, July, June, and I finished it. Oh yeah, here you go. Well, don't let it go. Chasing a dream. This is so laggy. What you do? Okay, this is a really lovely project. Everything looks amazing. It's all cool, but the creative direction is broken. But I wanted to see if you guys can actually pick up on like what is wrong with it so far and like what decisions was I trying to make or did I fail in making? So like John, I think we tried this earlier in the day, but like what do you think when you see this project?
Okay, so I thought most of the parts were really metaphoric. So the rock felt like it's telling a story of tensile strength, that the laptop is like there, like it's very strong. Then how the sequence were stacked against each other is seeming like it's a very slick design, right? And it's easy to use with the keyboards floating in and going up and down. It's like it has really nice keys. And overall, it looks like it gives a good experience, right? And that's what I can see from it is like a fresh air stuff that you just type and all that stuff. But because now there's some bias because he told me some of the things that
Yeah.
we did, so I can't say that. So I'm going to open the floor for everyone to speak. So if you want to speak, you can
Yeah.
just raise up your hand and unmute. Okay, you can
Yes.
go on. Ghana. Gangna. Wow, that's a good name.
Gagna.
Yeah.
Okay,
For
hello.
real.
Hi.
Hello,
Hi.
Gagna Designs.
Yeah. Okay, so what I
So
think
what do you think
about
about
this?
when you see this project?
Okay, yes. So first of all, it's very visually appealing, so it looks very nice. But there's no story. It's kind of disjointed. It's not completely cohesive because at first watch you can't really tell what is being what's it called, marketed or advertised. I don't know if you feel me. So yeah, that's what I feel. But overall, it looks very nice visually, graphically.
Exactly. You kind of like already put the nail on the coffin. This wasn't like what was originally intended for the project. The lack thereof of creative direction means that I'm unable to like, fulfill what the brief is supposed to be. Or maybe I'm just not a good enough creative director when I was making this. And like this guy, Solomon Sikani, who is the creative director at Cash. When I made this project, I was so happy with myself. Like, dude, I finally made something that looks cool, that I really like, that looks like my influences, which are Man vs. Machine, Dendro, those guys. And I was so happy with myself, like, oh wow, I've made something really, really cool, and this is really, really appealing. But then I showed Sekani, who is the creative director at Cash App and the lead motion designer, and it was like, um, what is the point of the rocks? Like when you look at the project, you see like rocks everywhere, and you're like, what is the point of the rocks? Why do I see the rocks? What is and the original brief was like, oh, this laptop comes from a specific material. This is the original brief I wrote. This laptop comes from like a material from like an alien planet, and that is supposed to be like what is like regular like microchips come from like silicon, like sand, and this comes from like a special rock from an alien planet, vibranium of some sort. I was just trying to tell that story, but this is missing. Like this is missing the storytelling. Like what could have changed this, and what could have made this like even better is like just a shot of the rocks turning into like the microchip. Like just a shot of the rock, like just that one shot could have made this a more compelling piece. Like just one shot. I was going to like add the shots, but I was just too lazy because I already committed 6 months into this project, and it just felt like why should I like put that even more time on this? But like that extra time was just so frustrating for me, and it's just one shot. And people even like pointed out that if I had taken out all the rock, if I took out all the rock shots away from the visuals and I just added just laptops and the chips, this commercial would be like 10 times better. And I tested it. I took out all the rock shots and I just left the laptop and all the chips. I just left the chip and the laptop and I just added the shot together. And it makes for a more compelling piece. I don't know if you would agree, but like I love it. I love it without the rocks. And it tells a better story for me, at least. But like if I was a better creative director, if I was thinking about the story from the beginning, if I wasn't like I was thinking about the story from the beginning, but I wasn't a good creative director. If I was thinking about it more deeply, if I was staying on the brief, if I was taking everything into consideration, I feel like this would have been a more successful project for me. And this is like I consider it an epic fail. It still looks amazing. Everything looks cool. It has some amazing shots and some gems. Like people can like people talk about this all the time when they look at my portfolio, but it's like the storytelling of it is just broken,
Um,
and it's something that I'm. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Someone's hand is up.
Um, for sure. Like,
Okay, sorry. Hope I'm not interrupting.
No.
your hand is up. You can
Okay.
speak.
Okay. Sorry, this is my first time attending these Google Meets. I've not attended any of these before. I just want to ask, what program are you using for the motion design or programs?
Okay, this was done in Cinema 4D and was rendered in Octane. Does
Okay,
that.
thank you
And I
very much.
just pieced it together in Premiere Pro.
Okay, thank you very much.
Awesome. There'll be rooms for questions at the end of the talk, though. So, like, if you have any questions, just save it, and I would answer them at the end. But yeah, I was just ranting about how this could have been a more compelling piece if there was just proper guidance and proper creative direction from the start, and if I was thinking about the shot. I'm kind of like sad about this because this is one of my favorite work. But yeah, let's wash our eye. Let's take away that nonsense that we just saw. Let's wash our eye and look at something with good creative direction. Let's dissect it together. This is from a mentor, Tom Crate and Chris Barry. They are the founders of Tendril. I love those guys, and they're like a creative directing duo. So like they've been working together for like last 15 years, I think, and they just make the best work in our industry. And they directed this. This is going to be my first time dissecting this project and dissecting like the storytelling of it. I've seen it so many times, but like I haven't really actually looked deep into it. So watch me live dissecting. Let's watch it together first, and then we can all say what we like, what we think about this project, and I'll say what I think, and you say what you think. So I have to take it back because the internet is laggy. I just wanted to load a little bit. So it's much smoother, I think. Sorry. I'm sorry, my internet sucks, and I have to take it back so everything loads. Shit. Please give me a sec. I'm going to play this again.
Roland, I think you should just let it load because it starts again.
I keep taking it back because once it gets here, it's going to stop. I'm going to wait for like 5 minutes, like a minute or so. Like taking it back makes it faster, I think. Okay, so what do you guys think when you look at that piece?
Love that robot.
Maybe, but like, what do you think about the actual visuals and how the shots come together? Like, what does it tell you?
You
Barry,
can, yeah.
Okay, can I speak?
are you? Yes, you
You
can
already.
unmute yourself.
Okay, yeah.
You're already
Hi
speaking.
guys. Yeah, I just wanted to
Hi, Barry.
clarify. So yeah, I think the one thing that I think I liked from it was there was like a rhythm, like pacing. So with the ticks
Yes.
and the snaps, and the motion was sort of like snapping at those points as well to give that, like, I don't know if we are waiting for the bang or we're just like to cause this hoopla and a watch the ticking, and it felt very bold and very very strong. So that's what I get it from it. It felt very like intentional, like strong and bold. That's what I got from it. Sha. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on like the wall. You want to speak on Namdi? Please, you can unmute yourself and speak.
Yeah, sorry. Am I audible, please?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay,
you're
yes.
audible.
What I really got from this thing, the word we really used, they really dissected the product itself. Starting from where the beginning of the video where you saw the frame animate into the animate in, and then the watch and then to like tries to construct the watch, and then you saw the bang, the handles animated, and then they were really dissecting the product. I wish we could maybe go through or have like go through the brief which was given, but I really saw that they really dissected the product itself. Also, there was a use of typography to try and make emphasis, and then a lot of words were displayed on screen, which I really loved about the video.
Yeah, I think you also like said it well. I think for what I see from this project, like they are trying to, like, the keyword there is bold. Like everything from the design of the watch to the design of the type to the animation, everything is supposed to be striking. Like everything is trying to be striking. Like it starts with this minimalistic box. I don't know why it's not like loading. I'm going to just refresh this. It starts from like this minimalistic box, and then it becomes the shape of the watch, like the main plate of the watch. I think that's what it's called. And like the actual design of the watch, like the actual watch is very, very bold and striking. Like when you see this amongst other watches, it would definitely call out your attention. And the design is very unique. So I think that is the core metaphor. That's what they're trying to say. So like every single decision they made, is saying that the use of type, the animation, the color, the contrast in the color is like black and white. The way everything moves, the music is supposed to like draw your attention and say, this is bold. This is like a very bold, attention-grabbing design. I feel like I've screamed bold like 300 times now. That's exaggerating. But yeah, but even this is the copy they wrote from like their case study, which is the Square brand. Square Bang is a fresh iconoclastic. Is that what the word is? Iconoclastic tribute to Hublot's flagship timepiece, the Big Bang. This bold statement requires a bold film marrying the classic design with fierce spirit of the brand. We wanted to inject some extra energy and with like a hint of playfulness and maintain the brand's clean and sharp aesthetic. I feel like we all kind of like hit the nail on the wall. Contrasting this project with my project, which is Alpha, I can start to see like where I start to fall short. For me, there wasn't like there was a clear brief in the start, but I just couldn't like meet up to that brief. I couldn't like I couldn't focus. I was like creatively blocked at some point during the project. And because of that, there is a lot of disjointed scenes. There's a lot of scenes that don't work. There's a lot of animations that feel off. And although it looks great, it looks eye-catching, everything looks pleasing, the lack of creative direction makes this project just feel weird. It just leaves you wondering, this is cool, but what was the point? There's no story here. Like, what's the point of this at the end of the day? But when you look at this project, everything is clear, everything is well intentioned, everything is like trying to tell a story, it's trying to tell you that this is Ublo's new watch, this is bold, this is what you should be wearing, this is going to call attention amongst other pieces. And I don't think this just applies to motion, this applies to every single part of graphic design. It's like the fact that you're using that color or the fact that you're making that decision, what does it say to the overall story? What are you trying to say with this piece? And yeah, it's like I've said this before, but it's like being a movie director. Like when you look at someone like um Christopher Nolan, or you look at my favorite director, which is Wes Anderson, everything he does is well intentioned. And all of his movies are like kind of composed in this very, very flat style. It always feels like, honestly, I don't even have to explain it. You have to watch the Wes Anderson's movies. I love them. It always feels like you're in a dream. And I'm just so influenced by him at this moment in time. My influences change every single like month. Like 2 months ago, I would have told you my biggest influence was Akira. But right now it's not. It's Wes Anderson. But yeah, like going back to what I was trying to say, it's like this is like being a movie director. This is like you being Christopher Nolan or you being Martin Scorsese, and you're like making decision. You're not necessarily. Its creative director is not necessarily going to be the one making the piece of motion. It's not the one going to After Effects, slapping. It's not the one like going to After Effects or Cinema 4D, putting some keyframes together. The creative director is the one thinking through the project. Is the one saying, this shot and this shot don't go together, this shot doesn't work with this one. How can we make it work together? Is one having the conversation with the client and saying, okay, this is what we have. And this is one trying to meet the client's goals. That is in a more like professional context. In my context, I'm a creative director for myself. I want to make pieces that tell stories and are more impactful. And not just pieces that are just a beautiful, I mean, I don't know if you've seen um I don't know if you've seen Coming to America, but he called this the first wife that was suggested to him, a beautiful fool. This project is a beautiful fool. It's beautiful, but it says nothing about the laptop. This is this is much better because it's telling story. It's making you feel something. This is just, oh wow, this is beautiful. I love it. This guy can do motion, which is nice. I enjoy all the praises and I enjoy all the Twitter replies. But this piece is garbage. Yeah, I need to wash my eye again. Sorry, just washing my eye. I'm sorry. Okay, so how do you apply this to your regular already existing creative process? The first thing I wrote is always start with a clear brief. I feel like a lot of us don't start with a clear brief and we just go at projects head on. Like we just face it as it is. That is a big problem I have. For this project, I'm embarrassed to say, but like Tom Chris was my mentor on this project. And he sat down with me for like 9 weeks. We started out with a clear brief, but then I deviated from it. Maybe because of I was like, afraid or I was just blocked in some way. But like we started out with a clear brief, but I deviated from it. But like, yeah, always start with a clear brief and actually stay on your brief and think about the story as a whole. Don't just think about this one piece or think about this side of the piece. Think about how everything fits together. Think about how does this shot and this shot, how did they come together? If you're working on a campaign, how does everything come together? Think about the audience. Think about like who is going to see this piece? Who is the end user? Think about like learn as much as you can about the end user. Use that insight to get ideas that are actually good and actually valuable to the end users. Like it's just like you're trying to advertise to Nigerians and you don't know Nigerians. How would you be able to create ideas that actually fit with Nigerians? Like actually know your audience. And the last one is kind of like a repeat of the first one, which is always keep your brief in check throughout the project. I obviously did not do that, and it's kind of weird calling out myself and putting myself on blast on this talk. But like, always keep your brief in check. Always keep your original brief in check. And if it's on a client project, always make sure the client goals are being met. I recently worked on a project like 2 weeks ago with this studio. I don't know if I can say their name because I signed an NDA, but like the creative director was one of the nicest persons. Wasn't technically nice, it was like brutal with me. It was like he always like the one thing I learned from working on that project is like always keep the client like goals. Like client goals is very, very important. Like and he always like made sure I was on brief. So it's like anytime I started to deviate from the brief, he's like, oh, this is less creative, let's do something more creative. Sometimes being a creative director means you're going to be less creative. As much as the words, as much as like, as much as the word is creative director, or the role is creative director, you might be less creative. You might have to like put yourself in check and say, oh, this isn't working for me. This shouldn't be working. You might have to say like, oh, this is deviating from the brief. You might have to be, this is not what the client needs. This isn't what the audience needs. And it's kind of, it sucks, but I feel like every single one of us as like a solo creative, if you're a solo creative like me, I feel like you kind of need this. You kind of like need someone to kind of like guide you through the process. And because you're a solo creative, you're going to be that person for yourself. I mean, I hope you guys are not all solo creatives like me. But yeah, because you're all like because you're a solo creative, you have to be your own creative director. You have to be your own person, like that is always keeping you in check. You have to be your own like accountability partner. You have to be the ones thinking through the project and making creative decisions. And yeah, thank you very much for the talk. This is the time for the questions.
Okay. How would you like the people to ask questions? Like speak or in the chat box?
You can raise your hand, speak, and then I'll answer.
All right then. Okay. You have the first person. Please, you can just speak.
Isaac.
Hey, hi, nice. Can you hear me? First of all,
Yes, you can.
Yes, I can.
yeah, okay. First of all, nice project. The project you call garbage. If some
I'm
of
sorry.
us, I don't know about that, sha, but if me, I can do that garbage. I've, I've made it in life. Okay.
Thank you very much.
My yeah. So I have just specifically one question. Um, concerning specs for your system, because I'm actually learning 3D cinema 4D currently, so I'm trying to get try and see if I can probably upgrade my system to get better specs. So I don't know, can you give like the specs of your system and if it's able to handle the level of work that you do with cinema 4D?
Yeah, the spec of my system is pretty okay. I was kind of expecting more questions around like creative directions and stuff, and I'm getting system.
I know,
I'm
right?
sorry. Okay, so I use a NVIDIA RTX 3060, the laptop version, and I have 32 gigs of RAM, and I also have a 10th gen Core i7. It's one MSI laptop. It's much smaller. It basically handles everything I need for now until I'm starting to feel the need to like upgrade because of like I'm starting to render more complicated scenes. But the truth is that like the hunger for a stronger computer never finishes, even if you get the biggest computer in the world. So just find what fits your budget, like figure out if it's 350K that you have or 250K that you have. And you kind of like find a computer that is good enough, that meets the minimum requirements for Cinema 4D and still like kind of works for you. It's just about budget. And
Yeah,
you would
thank you.
always want a stronger computer.
Yeah, nice. Because the specific reason why I asked is coming from I use After Effects a lot, so render time is like my major issue, which was why I was actually happy that I used Cinema 4D. So thank you for answering that
No
question.
problem, Isaac. John, you're saying that you'll be reading the questions from now on.
Yeah, if they send it on the chat box.
Okay. Barry, you have a question.
Wait. Before Barry goes, someone already sent one. He said how
Oh.
they started in motion design. Is that what it says? Yeah.
Yeah, how do I get started with motion?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a very interesting question. And it's like The question I answer almost every single day. Like every at least one person sends me a DM asking, how do I start, how do I get started in motion? And then I kind of like wrote a thread that answers this on Twitter. But because like we're on this call, I'm just going to explain the best I can. Hopefully I don't like say anything, I don't make any mistakes. Okay, so I think the best way to start in motion is like understanding like graphic design. This is kind of weird because like people expect, oh, just start learning After Effects and like learning all these other things. But I think that graphic design is like motion design is like a combination between graphic design, animation, and cinematography. Learning those three things and being able to combine them makes you a motion designer. That is the easiest way to explain it. And there's a course that kind of like goes through all that process of teaching you what is graphic design, what are the principles of graphic design, and teaching you what is animation, like what are the principles of animation, and teaching you cinematography. So how do I tell stories? Just like graphic design is how do I put graphics together and like tell a story? How do I make thinking, make it visual? And animation is like how do I make that visual move? And cinematography is like how do I tell a story with all these things together? That's how I think about motion design. So that is just the cheat code for being a motion designer, to be honest. Just learn those three things. Like you can learn them on YouTube for free. Like there's a lot of free materials. I'm going to probably like go on. I'm not on Twitter currently, but like my thread has all the links and all the courses that you need to learn like motion design. John or anyone that is here, please can you find a link to my pinned tweet?
All
Because I've
right.
locked it on my computer.
Okay, I'll do that now. Barry can go next.
Great. Really nice one, Rog. I have a question. I don't know if it's two, but I'll just try and give it to you. First, I wanted to ask is, you have experience, doing good and, as you said, doing bad at creative direction, and I understand creative direction as being like some sort of cohesion in um the design process, maybe for a big project or even a small project, to just understand how everything fits together to align to specific storyline. So I want to ask my question with, how can I be better in creative direction? So I just want to know what you can tell me how I can be better at that craft.
Okay. I think my previous slide kind of answers it in a way. I don't think there is any like course or any cheat sheet to being a creative director. I think it's something that comes with experience. Like the more you do it, the better you get. But this is what I found as like a good foundation is like being clear on what the brief is and learning to get better ideas, and like starting with what do you want from this project, like what is the main goals for this project, and like developing ideas that kind of aligns with that. And the way you develop ideas is by understanding the audience, finding insights on those audience, using those insights to generate good ideas. Those insights could now inspire like mood boards, so you can like be more visual with it. Like creative directors are like amazing mood board makers, surprisingly. like I can show you some mood boards that I've seen some of them make, and it's just amazing. I'll show you later, but like they're amazing. Like they're amazing. Like Tom Crate, he has this tutorial. He has not a tutorial, but he has this video on the future that kind of goes through how they made a mood board for a specific project, and I think you should check that. So it's like always starting with a clear brief, thinking about the story as a whole, like and like generating ideas that align with that, and then being able to keep yourself in check during the process of executing that idea. I don't think there's a cheat sheet for it. I think you just have to start and you just have to like keep doing it to get better at it. I hope that
Thank you.
answers it.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay, Faithfulness, please go. Are you still there?
Or Cletus, Timothy Cletus has been raising his hand for longer.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
So good evening.
Good evening.
I'm a graphic designer. So I do graphic design generally. So I do my jobs alone. I'm not like a company or stuff like that. So I want to know, how do I get to put this creative director thing into my design process?
I think that the question I asked before kind of like the answer I gave before kind of answers it, which is like I don't think there's this is why I said applying to creative process. Always starting with a clear brief, thinking about the story as a whole, thinking about the audience. I don't think there's a cheat sheet for this. I don't think I'm like I don't think I'm I don't think I have a direct answer for this. I think it's something that you have to learn wow and you get better with as you grow. Applying you have to like
Okay.
just test and see what works for you.
Okay. So in
I do have a course that kind of like that kind of like goes through creative direction in more in depth.
Okay, so in your case, like what in a project now, what do you look out for? Like when you're doing the whole creative director um job, what do you look out for?
The first thing I look out for, let's say I'm taking on a client, the first thing I
Yeah.
look out for is asking the client questions that like and creating a brief. Do you get? So like
Okay.
the first thing I do is create a brief with the client. A lot of times the clients would already have the brief,
Yes,
but
like
like
what he
but most
how
of
he wanted to go
most
and like the
yeah
client might have a
they would
brief
have
of
a brief
how,
himself.
yes. So how do you go about
A lot
that?
of times they would have the a lot of times they would have a brief, like the brief might not be as clear, or maybe they just have a rough idea of what the project is. But the first thing I always do, and I need to do more of, is working with the clients to create a new brief that is clear and answers all the
Okay.
questions that is
Okay.
needed.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
after that, I just kind of like search for ideas that kind of align with that. And it's just this process I've listed. It feels like I'm answering the same questions over and over again. But yeah,
Okay.
on to the next question.
Thank
There's a
you.
question in the chat box.
All right,
But
can I talk?
Oh yeah, 5 minutes you can talk and then
all right,
John will
yeah,
go
yeah,
with the
okay.
question in the chat.
All right. Yeah. So, good evening, everyone. Your project was actually a nice one. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoyed the motion. Yeah. And so I'll be asking a question relating to the motion. How do you build your composition? Like, how do you build your scenes? Do you map them? Like, do you jot them on a paper? Like, okay, from say 1 to 2 seconds or 3 minutes, whatever. The motion has to go like this, like this. Like, do you do any drafting? Do you have a sort of like a blueprint first to your motions before you now put it on the timeline and all that?
Okay, to answer that, yes. I mean, I spent 6 months doing that. So majority of this project is actually doing like the edit. So like I kind of like changed my creative process. Before my process was like this style framing and then storyboarding and then animatic, and then that process was interesting, but it was not for me. My process is now kind of the opposite. I do the animatic and the edits first. So I start with the storyboard, I cut it into an animatic, try to get a sense of the timing. I do a basic sound design. I do a very basic sound design on it just to get a sense of the feel and the pacing of the video. And then I just keep like I learned this from a guy named I'm trying to remember his name, but he's a motion designer based in Australia, and I interviewed him a while back. I'm trying to find his name. I don't know why I can't remember his name because one of my favorite motion designers. His name is Yes Captain Michael. I learned it from him. His process is kind of like the opposite. He doesn't care about the look of the motion until the end of everything. So it's like it starts with the edit. Let me share this tab instead because this tab has that edit process. Okay, this is it. So like this is all the different edits that I did. This is the version of the edit that is like the storyboard. This is just getting a sense of the timing and the different shots. And you can see like with all the edits, like I'm improving different things about the motion. Like this is rough story, but the drawings were terrible. Nobody was meant to see it. Like you could see like this edit didn't really have this other scenes. And this is just how I developed it. I did not figure out the look until the end. Though I started this project with my other process, which is like, doing the style frames first and like doing the storyboard first. But then I kind of like scrapped that because I already had like some style frames that I designed that I didn't use. But like I scrapped that and then I moved on to the edit. I moved on to the edits, straight to the edits, because it was a much faster and a much clearer way to work. Like doing the edits means you would like if you do it this way, you would definitely do work that is going to be smooth. Like everything you do is going to look good. Like it's going to feel good, not necessarily look good. Like if you, like for me now, for many years in my motion journey, I've always tried to develop my look. I've always tried to like learn to render things cleanly. I've always tried to like I'm a designer first before an animator. This process forces me to be like a cinematographer and animator. So it's like I'm forcing myself to make sure the motion is good. I'm forcing myself to make sure everything feels good before everything looks good, essentially. So this automatically is going to look good, no matter how you try it. Sorry, this is automatically going to feel good. It's going to move well, but like because I already have the skill, I'm already like really good at making beautiful images. Making it look good was not a problem. Like 80%, someone was asking in the chat, why it took 6 months. It took 6 months because I was trying to get the edits right, and I was doing this on my personal time, not my client, not like my work time. So I didn't really have. It was like weekends and midnights, and I was just trying to like get the edits to be good. So like my focus was on the edit, and it was like December where I like started to focus on the look. It was like the look was even rushed. I did the look in like a week, but like majority of the work is the edit. I hope that answers your question.
Oh, it does. It does. I am also a graphics designer, motion designer, photographer, stroke product designer. So yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, that is cool. Is there any more questions?
Yeah, like we have a couple. Peter is asking, what's the best way to storyboard? I mean, the pre-production process.
What's the best way to storyboard? There's no best way to storyboard. If you saw my storyboard, the drawings were trash. The storyboard is just, except you're showing it to a client who doesn't really know about like motion or anything. The storyboard is just to show you like what the animation is going to look like. So it's just what the different frames and the different scenes and how they're going to work together. I don't think you should think about it too much. I was working on a project recently, and for the storyboard, what I did was just took the product that they sent me and just rendered it out in cinema. I don't know if I can show this because I signed an NDA. But like I just took out that product and just rendered out the shots. Like I rendered it like no, not like a render, not like anything looked good. I rendered like a very ugly pass of it, and I just rendered it in like I just rendered it. How this looks like. There's no texture material. I just rendered it out like that, and that was my storyboard for that project. So like it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't really matter how you storyboard, whether you sketch or it's just a render. It's whatever gets it for you and does it for you and helps you understand the idea faster. I hope that answers your question.
Well, it looks like it did. Question from Fumi. Roger, so have yourself. Question from Fumi. What changed in your creative process between your first project and now? And how did you improve your storytelling?
Okay, so how did I improve my storytelling? I'm still figuring that out. I think that I've said this answer like 10 times. Like I've said this like 10 times, but these 4 things I listed here is currently how I'm improving my process, how I'm improving everything for me. Before, like my process is just based on vibes. It's just I like this project, I have an idea. There isn't really a process. Maybe I do like some mood boarding. I love doing making mood boards. It's like my favorite thing to do. Like my Pinterest is, I love Pinterest. You have to see my Pinterest and Tumblr and anywhere I can make a mood board. I just make mood boards. I make a lot of mood boards and I just forget about them. Like, and I use them months later. But my process was not like before. My process was just based on vibes. It was just based on, oh, this is the mood board. let me just make something cool. This is the original. This is like the idea I've had. I get ideas way easily, so it's not hard to get an idea. But because of I'm doing it that way, once I hit a roadblock, like that becomes a problem, and I would just be stuck. Like for the alpha project, I was stuck for like a month or two in the project. That is what added to the 6 months as well, because I hit a roadblock. The original idea did not work. I had to pivot into something else that I can actually manage. So it's like before I was working on vibes, now I'm not working on vibes. I hope that answers the question. And storytelling, I'm actually studying storytelling right now because I'm working on a new version of a short film of a short film or like a project I released last year called Jellyfields. And I'm trying to do a new version of it. And that project is kind of forcing me to learn storytelling properly, learn screentelling properly. And it's a journey. I can't say I don't think I can have like a real good answer right now for how I'm improving storytelling, but I would say I'm studying film, like I'm studying actual film, studying directors like Wes Anderson, studying how they actually tell stories. I think if you want to be a better motion designer, a better creative, I think those guys are the people to study, because they're like if you're trying to be a better storyteller, those guys are the people to study. Like they are storytelling masters, to be honest. So like that's how I'm improving my storytelling. I hope like in the next future, maybe like this year or the end of the year, so this year or next year, I would have like a much clearer answer for like my new process for telling stories. But right now I don't. But this is my approach to it. This is what I'm studying for it. So
Okay.
so this is what I didn't realize I wasn't sharing the screen anymore.
It doesn't
I just
matter. But anyways, uh, I will take what like three questions from the same person. Okay, so do you always create style frames for all your motion projects? Let me take it one by
no.
one. All right. Do you want to explain, or should I go to the next one?
I think I kind of explained it before, but I can again. I used to create style frames, but I don't again because I'm already like very good at designing. I can make anything look good. I'm doing the opposite. I'm like doing the style frames at the end of the project, not before the project starts. I'm still creating style frames, but like I'm doing it at the end. But if you have clients, you kind of always have to do style frames. But because of I'm kind of in a privileged position where I have a lot of creative freedom sometimes. So I don't really have to create style frames unless I'm trying to impress someone and I'm trying to tell them like I'm trying to kind of like show them like what this idea is. Then you have to create style frame. I hope that answers the question.
Okay. Before I take the last one on the chat box, please everyone should fill the feedback form in the chat box. Right. Let us know what you think about the session, and also if you would like more sessions like this, like bringing um, professionals in the field to host sessions, please you can check our Twitter and just follow. Then mostly every week we have like a session and invite different amazing people. For the last question on the chat box before we go to allow people to speak, is from Isaac again. He says, on a realistic scale, how long did it take you to learn Cinema 4D to the point you were confident enough to take your first project?
Shit, that is such a difficult question to ask. Why is it difficult is because I've always like whether I know how to do something or not, and somebody asks me, can you do this? I would always say yes. Like younger me right now probably never do that. But when I was much younger, whether I can or couldn't, I'd say yes and I would learn on the job. And that's basically how I learned a lot of things I know in graphic design and motion design. And that's a brutal way to learn because it's like you have a short deadline. I kind of underestimated how long this thing would take, underestimated how long this thing would take to render. And then you're like forcing yourself to learn really fast. So I wouldn't say there's a time to when you can like start taking client work or start saying like, oh, I'm going to take a project on this. I think you just have to dive in at first. Just dive in, see how it goes for you. I don't think my personal experience works for everyone.
All right, thanks. Uh, First question for the first person to speak is Olu. Olu, I see.
Yeah, hi.
All
Hi, good
right.
evening.
Yeah, I.
So,
Hi, good
the
evening, Olu.
question, yeah, the question I want to ask is based on software. So, of course, as a motion designer, you should know how to use After Effects. But if you are trying to expand and go into 3D, um, between Cinema 4D um, and Blender, which is considered to be industry standard, because I know a lot of people are like um, really using Blender, but Cinema 4D has been around for like a very long time. A lot of people using Cinema 4D. I don't know what you think. If someone wanted to start out in 3D, would you advise them to learn Cinema 4D or Blender?
Okay, so I'm going to be. I don't know how to answer this question. Why? Because I use both Cinema 4D and Blender, and I started out in Blender in 2016 for my 3D journey. So it's like I don't know exactly how to answer. I don't know whether I should tell you, oh, use Cinema 4D or use Blender because they're both capable softwares. I think it depends on it depends on you and your personal journey. If you're going to be like taking on like working for studios, like let's say you're going to be working for Man vs. Machine or Dendro or Buck, then don't use Blender. Blender would not work because most of those studios don't use Blender. But if you're like the only one working on the project and you're the one making the decisions from start to finish, and that's how you're working, then it makes more sense for you to use. So it makes more sense for you to use Blender. But if you're going to be working for people, use Cinema 4D because that's what most companies use essentially. But both of them are really capable software. Actually, I did a lot of projects in Blender last year, like when I couldn't afford Cinema 4D, because Cinema 4D is actually very expensive. And anybody knows me knows I'm against piracy to the core. Sorry. So like um I kind of like sorry, let me gather my train of thoughts. When I couldn't afford Cinema 4D, which was like 2020 to middle of 2021, I was using Blender all through. And late last year, my friend Matthias, who is like the community manager at Maxon, gave me a copy of Cinema 4D. And then later this year, earlier this year, I joined a new company and they bought me a copy of Cinema 4D. And anywhere I go, I try to force them to buy these softwares. But like, if you're going to working for people, Cinema 4D is what you should be using. And if you're going to be a solo creator, use Blender. They're both capable softwares.
Thank you, that makes sense.
Okay. We have a question from Faithfulness.
Caleb is saying you can't hear me. Can you hear me?
I
Yeah, I
think it
can
was
hear you.
a previous person that was asking the question.
Okay.
All right, please.
Can I?
Faithfulness, here you can go.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I don't know if you can hear some background noise, but apologies on that. So I wanted to ask, yeah, did you try out After Effects at all?
Yes, I don't think you can be a motion designer without using After Effects at
No,
all.
no, no. No, because I want to ask. No, well, I don't know. Yes,
Why I
I know.
said I don't. Why I say that is
Go ahead.
because like you're always going to come back to After Effects. Like
Yeah,
you're
right.
always going to get instances where you just have to go to After Effects, no matter how much you run from it.
All right, that's cool. So, do you do your composition like, if let's say for instance you'd want to do get some illustrative, like say icons, depending on the project, and then you need to get the raw file and all that and all that and all that. Do you connect different softwares apart from Cinema 4D and After Effects, just so you get what you want? And what are the
Honestly,
softwares?
honestly, it's a case by case basis.
Yeah.
Like I would say that I'm not loyal to any software. Like if I don't have Cinema 4D, I use Blender. If I don't have Blender, I use Illustrator. I'm not loyal to any software. So I kind of like, it depends on the project, to be honest. Some projects require me to take to like the last project that I did, they required me to come from Keyshots to like export files from Keyshots to Cinema 4D. I hate Keyshots, by the way, but because of that, I had to like get to use Keyshots. I don't think you have to be. I don't think I'm loyal to any software. I don't think there's like a workflow that is like a one size fits all. It just depends on a lot of this thing is really personalized. To be honest, there's no like one size fits all. There's no like this software plus this software. It's like this software works for this and this software works for this and it works for me, and I'm using it to achieve what I want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Sorry, one more thing. What would be
Sure.
your go-to advice to let me put this in a better way. What would you have? What would you tell yourself, your younger self, during the time where you were like in starting motion design or design as like holistically? What would be your great advice? What would be the thing you would want to do better at the moment?
It doesn't have anything to do with skill, but it has to do with like client relation and interpersonal relationship. Say no. Like I did not know how to say no when I was starting. Like everybody would came to me and were like, "Oh, Rog," like nobody called me Rog. Did anybody call me Rog? I can't remember. But it's like, "Hey, Olamide, I like your work. Come and do something for me. I don't have money." I said yes to every single thing, and it helped in my development. I learned a lot really, really fast through that process, but I was really burnt out too early in my life. And I was doing like a lot of projects. I wasn't sleeping well. And I just wish I said no more. And that's what I'll tell myself, like say no. But other than that, I wouldn't really change anything that has happened to me. Like I'll just let everything like I like the fact that I didn't say no initially because now I know to say no and I'm learning to say no. I still have that problem. I'm learning to be more like strict with my nose.
All right, that's cool. So I hope I'm not delaying anyone. One more thing, yeah.
Sure.
Do you niche out? Do you have a particular niche?
No.
I
I
mean,
would say
in
okay, yes,
design.
yes or no. It's like yes and no. I would say my niche is like I would say that like my niche is 3D motion design, and like to be more specific, I can say like I could say like I'm a what do I tell people? I'm like a art director in the 3D motion design space. So basically, I'm designing style frames. I'm like a 3D generalist. That's not really a niche, to be honest. I don't really have like a specific niche. I'm very, very generalistic. But I'll just tell people I'm a 3D motion designer.
That's cool. That's really cool. I wish I had more time because the next question I'll be asking will just be pertaining to how you receive clients because I want to know how you charge your clients. Like you will know the
Oh
best
shit,
way
that is
because you're minded.
complicated.
Yes, I know. Because I know you have experience in this thing and how you communicate, how you the kind of questions you ask when your client's budget is not really up to your standard, and then you sort of like when creatives we are sort of
Dude,
like
when the
ah,
clients
I need
so
this
let's
money. So I said like normally creatives were like I need this money, but it day below my charge, but how can I communicate to this client or this client and make the clients feel like I'm not begging the person? Do you get what I'm saying? Do you get where I'm coming from?
yeah, I get you. I think I get you.
Yeah.
I was going to say that
Yeah.
when clients is not in my budget, if they're a startup perhaps for stocks, but
Sorry,
like that I said when clients is they cannot afford me. If they're a startup, I ask for stocks.
Ma- So like
But
that's
like
basically
it's a very complicated answer. Like there's no one size fits all. It's just best to say no and not stress yourself, to be honest.
all right, cool.
Sorry, I'm looking down.
No, it's fine. Have you had ever
I feel
had?
like you should DM me and
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry,
you
I was
can ask
just
this question in more
I might
detail.
just go ahead. Sorry guys. All right, I'm off now. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, man. Okay, Any more
Is there any-
questions before we end the session? Or any last words from you, Roland?
Oh yeah, I have a last word,
Okay.
which is
One
from my friend,
word.
and be kind.
Ah,
Be
God.
kind. I'm sorry. This is like the coolest picture I can come up with. I love it. Be kind.
Okay, I have a question. Why should we be kind?
I don't know. Don't be assholes like you guys were to me earlier in the week. I'm just messing with you guys, though.
Anyways, I'm going to stop the recording now so we can end the session and just if you're still available to like chat, it'd be nice. So thank you
Sure.
guys for joining this session. I'm going to end it now. Stop recording.